And 3, 2, 1. Hello.
Welcome
To Recipes to Die For. I'm Kara.
I'm Jean.
And we're here for true crime and some yummy recipes.
Yum.
Yum. Today I'm bringing you an easy crockpot dump recipe called big potato soup that you're gonna love, and it's super easy, so you're welcome.
You're welcome. And I'm bringing you the infamous case of the Black Dhalia.
Yes. Okay. It's gonna be a great show, so buckle up, cause we're rolling. We're here. We're gonna start your crock pot on high, cause this baby's gonna be cooking. So take like your 30-ounce bag of your hash browns, shredded hash browns.
Shredded tape.
Get your potatoes. Get your potatoes. Shake it. Make sure you get every ounce. Like, don't ever leave any potatoes behind.
No.
That's a waste. That's a waste. Okay, then you're gonna take your 32-ounce of chicken broth.
Whoa. Spill a little bit.
Spritz.
Spill it a little.
Nothing like smelling like good old chicken broth. Little dash of perfume for you, madame.
Yeah.
Man, that took like 5 minutes. Okay, now you're gonna add a whole thing of sharp cheddar cheese. 8 ounces. Boom. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. There she blows. We're in. We're in. On to the next one. Perhaps the most important part. Bacon bits. You can get a smaller bag, but I like to splurge for the value bag because
Always.
this girl likes her bacon. So this is 4.5 ounces. And you're just going to shake it all in there. There is a little tab thing in there. Keep it fresh, so watch out for it. As soon as it falls out, it's at the very end.
You gotta have your protein.
Is there not one in there? Like 100,000%. There's always one in there. Did they not?
I didn't see one, so it's fine. It's good. It's fine.
Okay, just kidding.
fiber.
They might not always put those little packets in there, but we might get a surprise later. So it's like a Cracker Jack box. Whoever gets
Don't those packets say like do not consume?
Yeah. But I don't see it. That's why you do it on top before you really get to mix it. Then you're gonna take a whole block of cream cheese. Throw her in. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it.
Yeah, that's what I like to see.
Yep. Ooh, there's some left. Let's get every.
Don't waste it.
That's not what I wanted. Oh. Okay, well, it's usually not this crazy, so let's just finish this up. You're gonna take a can of condensed cream of chicken.
I've never had cream of chicken before.
Oh, I promise you're fine. And so it's literally, have you ever had like cream of celery or?
I've had cream of mushroom.
Okay, there you go, just like that, but
How do you
chicken.
cream a chicken?
You tell me.
I don't want to know.
I don't know. I really don't. You put the lime in the chicken butt and shake it all up.
Shake it up.
Okay, I'm almost done. So literally all you do is this, and then you're just gonna let it set for like 2.5 to 3 hours on high. So that's it. You're welcome. I just gave you the easiest and yummiest meal you're gonna have in your entire life.
You can go take a nap, movie.
Yep.
Do anything. Look at all that time we're saving you.
Yep, and then you can just mix it together if you want, and then check on it, stir it occasionally, and voila. Okay, so let me show you what it looks like. Come around.
Come on in. Come on in. Join us.
So it's like this, and then you're just gonna mix this part in and mix the rest of it all together and then let it cook. All right, now that we have mixed everything together, mix it all together. Now it's time to learn about the Black Dhalia. You can't freaking wait. All right,
Yes. This case, it's like haunts me to my core. I love it.
She loves it, but it haunts her every day.
Yes. So Elizabeth Short was born in July 29th, 1924.
Okay.
She was born in a town called Hyde Park, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
She later moved to Medford, Massachusetts, and she lived there during the Great Depression. So her early life started to foreshadow the terrible tragedies that would come later in her life. It started out on a bad note with her father, named Cleo Short. He left his wife and their 5 daughters in the middle of a Great Depression.
Shame. Cleo. Is that his name? Cleo?
Yeah, Cleo.
Cleo.
Cleo is a poop face.
Poop face Cleo.
So yeah, he left his 5 daughters and his wife in the middle of the Great Depression. He later tried to make it seem like he committed suicide by abandoning his car by the side of a bridge. Apparently, it led authorities to believe that he jumped into the river. I don't think that was some
Wish you would have, Cleo. Wish you would have.
I know, I wish you would have. Great detective work done by them. I think they just gave up on that. So they just said that he jumped into the river, but obviously he did not because it was a fake attempt. But anyway, so Phoebe, who was Elizabeth's mother, was left then to raise her 5 daughters on her own. So she had to work multiple jobs. She had to receive public assistance. She just had to try to make it on her own. So eventually, Cleo, who killed himself but didn't, came crawling back. He called Phoebe up on the phone and was like,
It's like, hey girl, I'm not dead. Can I come back?
Can I come home?
Can I come home?
And Phoebe was like, no. She was like, boy, bye. You can't come home.
In the 1920s. Bye, boy, bye.
Boy, bye. Yeah, so anyway, Elizabeth, she grew up and she grew into a very pretty young woman, even though she struggled with asthma and lung problems. Mm-hmm. So since she had all those problems, she wasn't really into sports, so she went to the theater a lot, and she became very obsessed with movies.
Same.
She wanted to be a movie star.
Same. Make us a movie star, please. Please make us.
Don't look desperate.
Sorry, I'm just kidding. I'm put together. We don't need your support. Just kidding.
She then packed her bags when she was old enough, and she moved to California, where her father was located, and she lived. She moved in with her dad, which is a friggin' mistake. Bye.
Cleo.
It didn't take long for the relationship between them to fumble. What is it?
Fumble, stumble.
To become strained. That's what I wrote. Her father called Elizabeth lazy and messy, and that she had bad dating habits. But like, who are you to talk,
Let's
Mr.
talk about
Abandon
you, Cleo?
Your wife and children?
Yeah.
Right? So she eventually moved out after less than a year of living with him. So she was forced to fend for herself on the streets of California. Yeah. So she wanted to get a commitment. She felt like she needed a commitment, which, screams daddy issues to me.
Yeah. we don't.
Then this is a common theme throughout the rest of her life, where she wants to find a man, get a husband, blah, blah, blah. So she's got some real daddy issues and commitment issues because her dad, abandoned her.
Oof.
Yeah. So she dated a guy named Matt Gordon, who was a serviceman. Matt told her that he was going to marry her after he returned from, where was he? In India. However, Matt died in action, and he never returned home. So she suffered a huge loss, and she was heartbroken, and she decided that it would be a good idea to tell people that they actually were married and that she lost her child in childbirth, which I don't know why.
I feel like either of those things
are not good.
Be adding to your complicated story.
No, yeah. So then she met another man after she got over the heartbreak, collected herself. She met another man named Gordon Fickling.
Hey, Gordon.
Gordy.
It all gourds.
So she had bounced around from town to town, like Massachusetts, town to town, state to state. Massachusetts to Miami, Florida to California.
Wow.
She was all over the place. But eventually she agreed to join Mr. Gordon in Long Beach, California, to continue again trying to become a movie star.
Chase your dream.
Yeah, she was chasing her dreams. She, so she was, before she left for Long Beach to join him, she was staying in Los Angeles, and she lived with a man named Mark Hansen, who was a nightclub owner, and he had a couple different businesses. Anyway, he was an older gentleman, and I guess, like, she got into some shady stuff with, like, partying at night and being a lady of the night. Maybe, I don't know if she was like a lady of the night or
lady of the night.
But she, I don't know, she like hung out at these clubs and, you know, sketchy stuff probably went down. I don't know about, I didn't see, but heard rumors from my sources. Anyway, so she was leaving town to go down to San Diego, and it was reported that Mark had been one of the last persons to see her before she left, and he said that, a quote, "I didn't see her, but she was sitting there one night when I came home with Anne," I guess was another lady of the night. I don't know why I keep saying that. They're not ladies of the night. That's just fun to say, I guess.
I love it. I think it's great.
I think she was another nightclub worker. That's what I'm trying to say.
Hey, if you asked me to get a name tag, they either said nightclub worker or lady of the night.
Lady of the night. Anyway, so going back to the quote. I didn't see her, but she was sitting there one night when I came home with Anne about 5:30, 6 o'clock, sitting and crying and saying she had to get out of there. She was crying about being scared, one thing or another, I don't know. That was when he was questioned by Frank Jemison in December 16th, 1949, so a couple years after the murder. While in San Diego, flash forward to San Diego, Elizabeth befriended a nice young woman by the name of Dorothy French. Dorothy works at a theater, and she found Elizabeth sleeping in one of the seats after a show.
Oh my gosh.
So they became friends, and then Elizabeth told her sob story of how she wanted to be an actress, but she couldn't find a job because there was actor strikes going on. And so Dorothy felt sorry for her, and she offered Elizabeth to come stay at her place.
Ooh.
So she took her up on that, and she ended up staying there for over a month. And Elizabeth did some housework for the family, all while continuing her pattern of nightclub and partying and naughty things. Scandalous. So while she was nightclubbing it up, she became entangled with a man who went by the name of Robert Red Manley. Manley was a salesman who was from Los Angeles, and he also had a pregnant wife at home. Yeah, she's got some real good...
She's got some problems.
Good.
She's got some problems. Let's straighten it out, Elizabeth. Let's get this straightened out.
She's definitely got some character judgment issues. He admitted that he was attracted to her, but he claims to have never slept with her.
Sure, because you're not stepping out on your pregnant wife just to talk with somebody.
So they were seen together on and off, and she even asked him for a ride back to Hollywood, which he agreed to, which a normal man with a pregnant wife would agree to help this beautiful young actress. Sure.
Dead.
If my husband did that,
you did.
He did. So he agreed to pick her up on January 8th, 1947. He even paid for the hotel room. Weird.
Their hotel room?
Well, it says her hotel room, but we'll get to that later on.
Oh, crap.
Literally the next sentence I'm about to say.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. He was said to have slept in the bed while Elizabeth slept in a chair.
Sure. Yeah. I sleep in a chair all the time.
Like, what a gentleman letting her sleep in the chair.
Yeah,
Jeez.
like, let's make it a little more believable.
Yeah.
Oh
So the
my
next morning, Manley said he had an appointment. So he had to leave right away, and then he returned back to the hotel to pick up Elizabeth around the noon hour. Mm-hmm. Elizabeth then told Manley that she wanted to meet with her sister to hang out for a sec. And Manley was like, I'm not waiting around for that. And then he left. He had another appointment he needed to go to. I don't know what this...
You got... Hopefully you're going to, like, psychiatric care. That's the type of appointments you need to be making, Mr.
Right.
Manley.
So this would be the last time that Manley saw Elizabeth. She was making phone calls in the lobby, and him and some of the hotel employees were the last people to see her alive. She no longer was living after he saw her.
Oh, crap.
So according to the Los Angeles Police Department... Only Elizabeth's killer saw her after January 9th, 1947. Elizabeth was missing for 6 days before her body was found.
Oh, no.
Her body was found in a vacant lot on the morning of January 15th, 1947. And get this. What? She was found by somebody, this lady, Betty Burzlinger. She was walking to town with her 3-year-old daughter, and she was just walking up on this vacant lot, and she thought she saw a mannequin, and so she was like, fine, kept going. And as they came upon it, she let out a scream, because what she saw was a...
Oh, no.
What? Dramatic pause. A woman lying on her back with her arms raised over her shoulders, her legs spread and twisted in display almost seductively. This murderer is sick. She had cuts and abrasions all across her body. Her mouth had been cut, like her smile was extended from her here to like her...
Are you freaking kidding me?
No. And that's not even, like, the worst part. Well, it's kind of... No, it's not the worst part. Yeah. Ear to ear, so both sides. And the investigators also believe that she had been tortured and tied down for several days while she was missing. She had rope marks on her wrists and ankles and neck. There was no blood left in her body.
What?
And that was most likely because she was cut in half.
I'm sorry.
She was cut completely in half. So they determined that she was killed somewhere else, cleaned up, brought back, and put on display. Yeah, that's not how I would want to go out.
Oh, no. Oh my god. I thought like the first, like the smile thing gets me because like Joker, creepy stuff, but
right.
The fact that that's exciting.
So the body was taken to the morgue and identified with the high-tech technology in 1949.
Oh, God bless.
They had to, like, blow up this image of a fingerprint they found, and they compared it to her fingertips, and it was confirmed to be Elizabeth Short, and she was only 22. She was a baby. While her body was being examined at the coroner's office, the autopsy revealed multiple lacerations to her head and face. But there was no firm sperm. Firm sperm. There was no...
Gotta get that... No, I'm not going there.
No, don't go there. There was no sperm found on the body because the killer likely, like, washed her down before he moved her.
Oh my god, that son of a
gross nastiness. There were a number of crisscross pattern cuts over her pubic area, and her pubic area had been removed by hand. Not a razor, by hand. Like, what?
What?
Literally, what?
Like, No.
They did find, though, that most of this was done post-mortem. Not to make it, like, better, but, like, it's kind of better because she wasn't alive. The official cause of death was hemorrhage and shock due to a concussion of the brain and lacerations of the face.
Poor baby.
Yeah. So during the investigation, the Herald Express, which is a newspaper, they had the first breaking information of the case. And the owner, William Randolph Hearst,
Keeping me in check.
He made a deal to the LAPD that he would share the crucial information that he found as long as he got exclusives. And the captain at the time was like, meh, okay. He didn't like it, but he wanted...
You have to keep it quiet. What a...
Yeah, but...
poo head.
Yeah. So the LAPD continued working with one of the employees of the Herald Express named Wayne Sutton. And throughout the investigation, tips would roll in and blah, 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 usual investigator stuff. But finally, a useful tip rolled in about a trunk that Elizabeth used to have. No, not like a car trunk, because that's what I thought at first.
No, like a big
box
chest type thing. Mm-hmm.
She kept one, and it had like photos of her friends and family and herself, and but that like went missing in its voyage from where she was last. I think San Diego to Los Angeles. So it went missing for a while, but they eventually were able to track it down.
Oh my gosh.
And the Herald Express was the newspaper that was able to give her the infamous name of Black Dahlia. Because at the time, I guess, it was really big for newspapers to, like, name girls who had been murdered. So I guess her name became the Black Dahlia. So two main theories developed during the investigation about the killer.
Okay.
The first was that Elizabeth had never met her killer before death, and the second was that Elizabeth knew her killer. And it's like, aren't those the only two options?
Only two options. You either know them or you don't.
Right, that's what I thought. I read that. I literally have that in my notes. I'm like, those
LOL.
Literally the only two options. Good detective work there. LAPD.
Idiots.
Yeah. So with all the mutilations on her body and like the passion that went into her murder, the LAPD was like,
probably
it's an act of, they knew her and...
act of love. Well, not love, but like sadistic love.
Yeah.
Passion.
Yeah.
Greed.
Mm-hmm.
Bleh.
Preach. Just kidding. So the police were convinced that the second one was true and that it had to have been from a personal vendetta. The FBI even became involved with the case, and the criminal profiler by the name of John Douglas believed that the killer knew her very well, had an emotional attachment to her. Mm-hmm. I hope nobody ever has that kind of attachment to me.
No.
No, thank you. I don't want that.
Screw you if you think you're that attached to me.
I don't want that love. I don't need it.
Bye.
Bye. Anyway, the profile believes that the horrific violence was inflicted, and the way it was left out on display was that the killer wanted the world to see the wrongdoings that she had done to him. And it's like, what?
I'm sorry.
I can't believe...
But I think we need to self-reflect in that moment.
Yes.
If you have that thought, sir.
Yeah. So Dr. Paul D. River was also brought in, who is like a psychiatrist, to try to crack the brain of this killer. He suggested that during the killing episode, he had an opportunity to pump up the effect from two sources, from his own sense of power and in overcoming the resistance of another. He was a master and the victim was a slave. So he also hinted that the killer might have been a necrophiliac. Blech.
Blech.
What a creepy mofo.
That's right.
So on January 23rd, 1947, a call came into the Examiner, which is another newspaper, and he claimed to be the killer, which is creepy. Like, I don't know what I would do if I answered the phone and he was like, I'm the killer. I'd be like, Gotta go, bye, see ya.
I'd be like, and what's your name? Because if you're dumb enough to be calling in,
Yes.
Come on down.
He told the editor that he was upset with the way that the story was being told. Like, just like a sociopathic, necrophiliac, sedatist, murderer, creepy man he is. Like, what? I don't like the way you're projecting my story.
Yeah, my story.
Gross.
Yeah, right.
So the examiner also received packages, in a package with a letter formulated from magazine clippings from an anonymous sender the very next day after that call. The package also contained Elizabeth's birth certificate, business cards, photographs, and an address book with the name of Mark Hansen. Remember who Mark Hansen is?
We're coming for you, Mark.
Mark
We
Hansen.
remember you, Mark.
We remember
Don't
you.
worry. We remember
the
you.
nightclub man.
Oh. Singing of the guy that... Singing of Manly. My bad.
I did that too. I did. No, but it's
Crap.
It's
sorry.
the nightclub man. It's
I got a little too aggressive.
The man who last saw her in San Diego.
Okay.
The one that was like, she seemed upset about something.
That's my bad.
So he became the prime suspect. Elizabeth's handbag and shoes were also found in the trash can the same exact day that the examiner received the package. The items were found only a few miles away from that vacant lot where they found her body, and they think that this was a mistake that the killer made because he might have thought there was no way they would link the handbag and shoes to her.
Right.
But Manley, the guy you were thinking of that gave her the rides, he actually recognized the handbag and the shoes because he saw her the day he went missing. So he was able to be like, that's her stuff.
Well, at least he's good for something, I
Yes.
guess, Mr. She Slept in a Chair.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, but so he also was a suspect for a hot second, but they ruled him out because he had a really solid alibi. I don't know if that's I don't know. Yeah. So he also made a mistake because if the trash can was close to the vacant lot, it meant that it was where he lived was probably close there too, because it was probably in walking distance from the trash can in the vacant lot. So he probably lived in that vicinity. Letters also then came pouring into various newspapers, and lots of people had anonymous tips and thought they knew things, but most of it was not true and seemed like hoaxes and like false leads. So But letters were also being sent to the Los Angeles district attorney, and he forwarded those letters on to the LAPD, and those letters actually seemed like they came from the murderer. And the murderer seemed to have been taunting the LAPD, and he was a really psychopathic genius, in my opinion. He even sent back, like, evidence, and the evidence he sent back, he had washed it in gasoline, so there was no DNA evidence on it at all. He was, like, really messing with the
But he, like,
police.
had this stuff.
Yeah, so he obviously was the murderer, and this was a real guy, and he was sending stuff back, and he was also sending messages, but they were all sort of like confusing, and they didn't make sense, and some of it wasn't right, and some of it was, and so it was like he was actually messing with them, and so, that's what's really scary to me. It's like, this guy, he did it, and he knew how to get away with it, and he knew how to mess with the police, and he was so bold. It's like,
twisted.
How can you be so bold?
Oh, how can you be so... Why you gotta be so mean?
So because of the way that Elizabeth was cut in half so cleanly, the LAPD thought that the murderer had to have been someone with medical training.
Ooh, yes. Good idea.
I hope that nobody of average talent couldn't cut me in half cleanly.
Lord, save us.
However, the first suspect they arrested for the murder was not a medical student. It was actually Robert Red Manley, who I had mentioned before. the guy who had last seen her at the hotel, but they ruled him out because he had a solid alibi and repeating information. He also passed 2 lie detector tests, but according to Crime Junkies, you're not supposed to take lie detector tests. So.
Ooh, that's true, because you just never know.
Yeah, you never know. The investigators treated everyone that Elizabeth knew as a suspect. So by June of 1947, the police had processed and eliminated a list of 75 suspects. And then by December 1948, a year and a half later, the list had grown to 192 suspects in total.
Oh!
So about 60 people actually confessed to Elizabeth's murder, which I still don't understand.
Go home. Don't you have something better to be doing than trying to be this awful murderer? I think you probably do.
Stop taking other people's
glory.
Like,
it's one thing if there's, like, 2 people that go in. I'm like, okay, you 2 are really weird people.
Right.
To put it very kindly. But 60
Kindly.
plus, I'd be like, please go home.
Right. Crazy to
Sorry.
me.
Yes.
Only 22 people were actually considered as viable suspects, and current suspects that are presently considered to be main suspects include, I have a list here, but I kind of altered the list because I read some information and I thought they were just like, theories.
Right.
And it wasn't actually like LAPD investigators that thought that it was this person.
Okay.
So I picked and chose my list of suspects on who I think it is because I'm a professional investigator.
Heck yeah, we are.
So Walter Bailey, he was an LA surgeon who lived just 1 block south of the vacant lot. So there's a connection. And then his daughter, Barbara Lindgren, was a friend of Elizabeth's sister and brother-in-law.
Ooh.
So there's another connection.
That's pretty damning, Walter.
Unfortunately, Bailey died in 1948. But his autopsy showed that he suffered from a degenerative brain disease. So,
okay.
This is one that,
that would make sense.
Mainly theorists think that he did it. But I kind of am with him, though, because, he had a brain disease. He's loopy-doopy. Maybe.
Loopy-doopy as a surgeon. What a great combo.
Right. We'll take those scalpels away from him.
Walter.
So the next one was Norman Chandler. He was a publisher of the Los Angeles Times. And Wolf, I forgot to write down who that was, but he was important. He claimed that Chandler impregnated Elizabeth while she was working as a call girl. Call girl, that's what I was trying to say instead of lady.
Like she answered the telephone?
No, sweetie, no. Sweetie, no.
A different kind of call girl.
Yes.
Oh, crap. I wasn't thinking like that lady of the night. My bad. Oh.
So, yes, Wolf claimed that Chandler impregnated Elizabeth while she was working as a call girl, and so that led Chandler to order a gangster named Bugsy Siegel to murder her.
Oh, crap. I've heard of Bugsy before in other stories.
Me too. Okay, so that's him. And then another one named, I kind of like this one. His name is Ed Burns. So he, I mentioned the trunk. Yeah. And there was photographs and stuff. So they could identify all the pictures and who they were and stuff. But they couldn't identify one man, and it turns out that this is Ed. Oh. Ed was the man, and he was labeled in the investigation unidentified man number 1 or something. Anyway, he, I guess, was in love with Elizabeth, and they had rendezvoused together for a while, and they spent 2 nights in a hotel together, playing games and stuff.
Reading books, playing some crosswords.
So the theory is that so Elizabeth growing up, she was obsessed with this murdered girl named Suzanne, and she was just so obsessed because this was during the time of heartbreak when she was a little cuckoo, and she told people that she was pregnant but the baby died in childbirth, and her husband died and she wasn't really ever married.
Yeah, and then she won the lottery.
Yeah, so she, during this time, also became really obsessed with this murder victim named Suzanne. She was like a 12-year-old girl. I think she was 12. I don't know. She was a young girl, and she was murdered, and her body was like all cut up into pieces, and she was like really fixated on it. And I guess some people think that she drove Ed crazy talking about it, and so Ed like couldn't take it anymore, and so he killed her and chopped her up just like Suzanne.
Oh crap.
So I don't know. It's a theory.
Oh no.
And then on March 15th, 1947, exactly 2 months after the murder, he killed himself. He committed suicide. And his suicide note said, "To whom it may concern, I have waited for the police to capture me for the Black Dahlia killing, but I have not. I am too much of a coward to turn myself in, so this is the best way out for me. I couldn't help myself for that or this. Sorry, Mary." I don't know who Mary is, but...
Yeah.
Whoo! Seems
Yowza.
pretty murderous and confessy to me, but... Also, 60 other people confessed, so I'm confused.
We're all confused.
And then we've got Mark Hansen.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one with the night stuff. Why can't I remember? The nightclubs. He lived, Elizabeth lived at his house for a while and lived with Anne.
Safe.
Yes, super safe. And he was the last one to see her alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, according to phone records, she also called him January 8th, so the day before she died.
Ooh.
She called him, and when police asked him about what their conversation was about, he made multiple contradictory statements.
The weather.
Get your story together before you talk to the police, or you're going to look guilty as hell.
Actually, we're okay if you're guilty.
If you are guilty, yeah, that's fine.
We're cool.
But if you're not... You're going to
cool.
confuse the policemen. So, yeah. He also was linked to 3 other of the suspects in the Black Dahlia case. Dr. O'Reilly, Dr. Swartz, and Dr. McGinnis Fout.
Mm-hmm.
Hansen was one of the first suspects and still remains one today. And then I have a few others on my list. I didn't write anything about them. They're George Knowlton, Jack Anderson, Wilson. And then I went on to talk about George Hodel, who I think is a good suspect, and I think his son, Steve Hodel, thinks so too, because...
Oh, his son!
He came under scrutiny in October 1949 when he was accused of molesting his 14-year-old daughter. I'll kill a bitch. People are so nasty! Anyway, so after he did that, and people testified that they actually like heard and saw him doing these things, he was placed under police surveillance, and he was overheard saying, quote, "Supposing I did kill Black Dahlia, they couldn't prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary anymore because she's dead." And
convenient.
So I guess before she died of a drug overdose, his secretary. She was planning on blackmailing him. He had photos of Elizabeth Short, like model photos, and some of them were nude and blah, blah, blah. Oh, anyway, so she was planning on blackmailing him. And Holden's son, who was a former LAPD homicide detective, also believes that Short may have been one of the victimized patients and they found more nude photos from his personal effects. Also, Hodel died in 1999, and his son then published a book. So,
ooh, snap.
He really thinks his dad did it, because the book is like Black Dahlia Avenger, a Genus of Murder. So that's the name of it, and basically Hodel, his son, talks about how his dad was the one who did it and like reasons why, and also that he did other unsolved murders during that time. So that is the last suspect that I think could have possibly done it. There are more suspects, like kind of a lot more, but that's who I think is really important to the case. But this is an unsolved murder. It has been since 1949, so that's like 70 years ago-ish. So I think we'll never know, because, yeah, but yeah.
This was so good, though. I think it was that Dr. George guy, the last one. Because his son was like, hey, my dad did it. And if he had all that stuff of, she did it. He did it. He did it to her.
He done did it.
He done did it.
Yeah, so how's our soup looking?
It's looking amazing. Let's check it out.
Bacon bitties, bacon bitties, bacon bitties in my soup. Bacon bitties, bacon bitties, bacon bitties in our soup. Bacon bitties, bacon bitties, bacon bitties in my soup.
All right, let's check out our soup. It's still coming along. So hasn't been quite 2 hours left, but look. This masterpiece.
Look at it.
So you leave this baby, just go, and it's delicious. I can't wait to taste test this with you. It's like so good. Well, thanks for tuning in for today.
Thanks for watching and listening to me.
Your story was so good. On the edge of my seat. All right, eat up some soup. Listen to some true crime. We'll see you next time.